All right, guys. So welcome back. I want to do a little something different today. We are going to walk through our lumber package takeoff. And for lumber package takeoff, you want to order before your foundation is complete. Anywhere seven to 10 days, depending on if you have floor trusses or not. With floor trusses, they do take longer. This is a mistake that I made. So I expected the floor trusses to take about 7 days to get manufactured, and that's why I waited to the completion of my foundation because I knew I would need to wait 7 days for my foundation to cure before the post tension company would come back out to tighten those cables. But I did not calculate that with floor trusses, you need to send in the CAD file from your engineer because trusses are manufactured to the engineer's specifications. So I needed to send that file to them. They would draw up the truss designs based on the foundation plan, or excuse me, the floor framing plan from the engineer. They'll send that back to me for approval. Yes, move forward to produce, and then at that point it takes 7 days. So I misunderstood whenever I was in communication with them what that lead time meant. So it's an additional week basically for me to get the floor trusses. I wouldn't want to start building up the walls and then it'll just be some walls out there for a week just doing nothing, being braced. So that doesn't make too much sense. So I'm waiting for me to get the confirmation of when my floor trusses would get delivered for me to go ahead and put in the lumber package with the first floor walls and the beams. So with lumber takeoff, I mean it took me about an hour. I used this software. It's a web software. It's Connex.com. I'm using a free trial. It takes about an hour once you kind of familiar with the information and what you're looking for. So based off this, I'm just gonna walk you through how you could do your own lumber takeoff. Otherwise, you would need to go to a lumber yard that does provide lumber takeoffs. They'll charge you between three, maybe $500. So if you feel that, you know, an hour every time is worth $500, then this would be a good option to use. So I have different files here. So I have a framing plan. So these are just the 2 pages out of my whole architecture set that has the framing plan on it. I have the full arc set, and then I have just the engineered plans. So just basic. If we start out with the framing plan, this is what I used for to calculate my studs, my bottom plate, my top plate. If let me start there. So bottom plate is the bottom, either 2x4 or 2x6, that is framed that you use to frame your house, right? This needs to be water and ground treated. So that is the greenish tone that you will see on these pieces of the lumber. That is the chemical that is pressure treated into the lumber, so it's less resistant or more resistant against rot. So it won't rot due to water damage at a slower rate. It would eventually rot, but at a much lower rate when it's treated lumber. So that's a must for you to do that when you're framing. So easiest way to do that is so I have it all here. So I pretty much use this length, which measures the length of obviously what I'm clicking on, polygon and rectangle. Very easy to use. So you have a drop down. I created a category of the first floor, and within the first floor, what I'm looking at. So here I chose, I could choose ground treated, and I've already done this over here. But for example, so you have your scale. So your scale is the same here on this bottom left. Your scale is what your plans are scaled to, and all your plan will have one scale that is set to it, and that's what you will use. I could change it here, but obviously that'll throw all the calculations off, right? So for example, if I haven't done this, and as well, before we get into that, on your framing plan, you will have a legend of all the walls that you're seeing. So you have a two by four interior wall, 2x4 exterior wall with brick, 2x6 interior wall, 2x6 exterior with brick, or 2x8. So based on this legend, you know what you're calculating for, right? Um, okay, oops, did not do that. All right. So this is just an example. So if we start here, I would literally just go around the walls, clicking at each one, and that is getting me the length. Once I'm done, double click, and it will pop up over here on measurements. Sorry, I can't see my bottom bar. There we go. All right, so this will let me know, hey, the length that you selected was, this long. So for the bottom plate, obviously, all you need to do is take that amount divided by whatever length your bottom plate is going to be. For the most instances, you're going to use a 16-foot bottom plate. So once I divide that by 16, I get the amount that I want to order. So I literally just make an Excel sheet, bring it over here. So bottom plate treated, the length is 16. Based on that, I would need 25 um, 2x6s, ground contact treated yellow pine. It's that simple. So you do that for all your walls, right? Um, cool thing about this software is I could also add the height. So also from this, so if I'm doing all my exterior wall and I add a height to it, that would literally tell me the square feet of that wall, all exterior walls. Why is this good? It gives me my drywall measurements. So now I know how much drywall it is on my first floor, as well as my exterior. So for exterior sheathing, so this is an OSB board that's put on the exterior to give your framing shear strength. So after you're all framed up, all the beams are in. This is what kind of is the exterior of the home. Starts giving it that look of a home. So I have my length here. I have my square footage here for my area. Also, I used the polygon to do the ceilings. Basically, just went all the way around to get the amount, the area amount on my drywall for my ceiling. So you do that for the first two floors. It's very self-explanatory. Now, what takes the longer time is here with the engineer drawings. As you can see, like the difference between the engineer drawings and the architecture drawings, it's a lot more information. So these are my engineer drawings, and this page is, sorry, I need to move my setup a little bit. So this setup here, are the engineer plans. So this is the floor framing plan. So the above the first floor, second floor framing. This are all the beams. So all the framing beams, the schedule is right here. Lets you know what these beams are. Also pretty self-explanatory. So beam 2-6, this is just saying beam 2x6. The beam size is letting you know that this is going to be two separate 2x6 put together, and you would need a 2x6, a 2x6 to whatever length, and in between them you actually put an OSB board between them, and then nail those together. If a hanger is required, the engineer tells you use this as the hanger. All right, so when you first look at engineer drawings, it could be overwhelming, but this is something that I wanted to learn. So when I'm out there kind of reviewing while they're framing, if I see something that shouldn't go there, or they're using the wrong beam for for a certain door, certain window, that because I'm familiar with my drawings, I can call that out. I can say, hey, that's wrong. Hey, review it again. Look at this. I don't think that's right. Um, and I would advise you, if you're going through a build, even if you don't fully if you aren't fully able to do a takeoff, really try to familiarize yourself with um, with the engineered drawings, because it tells you exactly how the house needs to be built. This is the blueprint. I mean, literally, um, this is the manual. This is the step by step how this house needs to be built. So let's take it back. Let's take it back a little bit to why beams are so important. Beams, they spread the load across an opening. So from above, the weight load coming down on a window needs to be spread to the other studs when it's a large opening. So how does this look like? So had a little drawing here. So this is the bottom plate, also known as a sill plate. These are your studs, often at 16 inches on center. And then this is your top plate. Your top plate is doubled up. So on top of your framing wall, you should always see two uh, two pieces of lumber. Okay. So when you get to an opening, right? So this could be a window here. So this could be a window here. You would need you would need a beam to be above this window to bear the weight from above. Okay, really that simple. So here, so with openings, so this there's a little bit of space there, but these will be tight together. To bear the weight of this header, okay, this header or beam, whatever you want to call it, okay. Well, this is a header, but a beam would be across a large open area. This header here, or this stud here, is called a jack stud. Okay, this is a king stud. They will be tight together. There will be no space in between them, and depending on how large this header is, the weight of it, it could call for one jack stud. It could call for two jack studs. For example, if this was a garage, it would most likely be three jack studs, because the beam for a garage spanning 20 feet, it's a lot heavier than a 6 foot wide window. Okay, and then above here you have a lot of you had some smaller studs. They're called cripples, yeah, and those would be above the header, connected to the top plate. So bringing, if you're think about it as like water, right? So flowing down, the weight is coming down to this and then dispersing out to this stud all the way down. Then for a window specifically, you would have another a sill plate down here with more cripple studs. And these will continue being 16 inches on center. They should all line up. So hopefully this demonstration made a little bit more sense. Now if we go back to reading the engineer plans, right? Everything is labeled. So like once you get through all it looks like a lot of clutter, a lot of information on the screen. But like once you know what you're looking for, it's really easy to decipher. So for example, we have a window opening here. So this is beam 411, and it's on the framing schedule. Beam 411 is 3.5 inch by 11.25 inch LVL. So these LVLs, these are specifically manufactured that way, but you just need to figure out the length of them. So I could order a 3.5 by 11.25 for a 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot. Doesn't matter. I need to let the lumber yard know what I'm ordering, right? So here, these 18 inches trusses by others. So these are all the trusses that are getting engineered, getting designed. So literally from each line, it'll tell you what it is. So over here in the front, this is 2x6. This is a 2x6 single. So it's letting me know from here to here, every line in between that is just a 2x6. But back to the beam. So 411. So I literally go with this length option. I will go first floor, and I'll create a new group under first floor. I'll type in whatever beam it is. I'll add whatever color I want to use, and then I'll just go through the whole page. Hopefully not missing anything, and I'll get the length for every beam that's 411. So it would group it under beam 411 for us. So why is this important? So from here, I'm able to make my order. So for beam 411, I want an 18 footer. Okay. Why 18 foot? I know this says 17.9. Excuse me, 17.9 feet. And as you can see here, it'll highlight which one you're hovering over. I know that these beams are made at 2 feet increments. So obviously I won't go 16 because it won't be long enough. I'll buy an 18, then the framers could cut it down to size. So 18. This one, I know it's a little bit over, so I'll just go ahead and go with a 16. 12. This one 10. Here probably an 8. So these two, they're a little bit over 6, so I'll do a 14 here and then a 6 here. And that's how I would add it to my list. So literally just make a list with the description, what beam it is, the size. I mean, when you order from the lumberyard, they're not gonna know. I mean, they can infer, but they're not gonna know what beam 411 is. So they need the actual size. They need to know the length. Okay, and then they need to know the amount. So these are some kind of guesstimates to pricing that I've been shopping around. So just to get a ballpark of what my lumber package is going to look like. So from here, you can say I did a 14, I did a 16, I did a 12, did a 6, did 3/8, and these beams aren't isolated to the first floor, right? So they could also be from the second floor plan. The way that I want to break it out, so I have my trusses ordered, so that amount has been paid. That's an actual amount. What we want the framers to do, I mean, they're building ground up, right? So we want the main floor, so we want the walls, right? We want the studs, we want any hardware needed for that. Okay. after that, we want the beams. So the beams and the headers. So again, this is for any large openings, et cetera, any windows, any doors. This is what they would need to use to support the load that is going to be coming from above on those openings. So these are very important to be there the first day. After that, we want we want our custom trusses because trusses, the open web trusses, go above the first floor. So to get through the first phase, I want these three packages ordered on the same day. I want them to arrive together, um, be there for the framing team. They can knock it out. It'll probably take them, I'll say, anywhere between 3 to 4 days. Once they knock that out, same concept. The second floor, I want the subfloor. So again, just an area. So for the subfloor, I went with Avantech subfloor. This is 1 1/8 thick, so pretty thick, for to be less sound. Some use, 1/2 inch OSB, et cetera, et cetera. But these are water resistant subfloors as well, so really good against the elements. Again, and same concept. I want the subfloor, so they're able to walk on the second floor. Then I want the walls, and I want the beams for the second floor. So I'll do that. Whatever date I can get confirmed delivery on this, I'll do another 4 days. After that, I'll drop this package. And then we'll have the roof decking and the sheathing on another day, and then maybe even the cornice and the siding and the trim, just smaller things there on that day as well. So we're looking at probably 4 days there, another 4 days there, 4 days there, maybe a day or two on the trim. So we're probably at 14 days, 2 weeks for the total once we start the framing for it to be done. So obviously we have some inspections in there, so you know hopefully we pass with no issues. But yeah, that is kind of how you do a takeoff. And all of these, I mean, this is all detailed out. You have to read your plan. um, this is all detailed out in your engineer plan. The hanger, seal, this goes below the bottom plate on the first floor. It's like a foam mesh, to kind of give it a capillary break between the concrete and the wood itself. So another kind of layer of protection against water wicking up on that wood and eventually rotting it out. But yeah, so that was a quick view on what I did to do my lumber takeoff. Again, pretty easy in terms of once you get comfortable with it, once you know what you're reading. But regardless, if you want to, you don't want to spend the time on it, you want to get somebody else to do it. $300 to $500 is what you'll probably see out there. Some are more detailed and could get up to like $1,000. But is what you want to spend your time on. So definitely there's YouTube resources out there on how to estimate, how to read engineer plans. So I definitely watched a lot of YouTube videos to even get comfortable with reading my own plans. And I mean that is my hobby. So watching YouTube on how to build a house is literally my hobby. So it just depends if you count that as time towards learning how to do your own takeoff, or if that hour plus the time learning. But I wanted to know what I was building in the first place, just so like I said, I'm familiar with what I'm looking for at the job site. So when I'm there, you simply can't just assume that everyone all the framers know what they're doing. So you could hire, a great company, a great subcontractors, great references, but they might have an apprentice on their team. They might have a guy that just started last week and he doesn't know. So you need to know when you're seeing something wrong to make sure to call it out. Um, and then the beams, I mean, the beams are expensive. Like some of these, like you see here, like one of these beams is $500. So if I see someone taking 414 and cutting it up, it's a 20-foot long, 24-foot long, and cutting it up into three pieces, I know that's wrong. Like, no, I didn't order a 24-foot long beam for it to be cut up. It's probably this is probably the garage. Like this is a large open space that needs this beam there. So yeah, so just at the very least get comfortable with understanding what you're reading. Just taking the time to read it, and again, everything's called out. Everything has a symbol of why it's there. Um, Again, all of these beams, headers, um, these dotted lines, you see SW2. So go over here to the ledger. So this is a shear wall schedule. So this is letting you know. So SW2, one layer of 1532-inch APA rated sheathing, 8 nails at 4 inches on center at all edges. So this is letting me know I need to get some OSB this thick. At this point, that's where it needs to be, and the nail pattern that they need to do it at. Yep. So that's pretty much it. Like you'll have a whole bunch of notes. Some of these are generic notes, but others are specific to the plan. Like the hold down anchor bolt schedule there. It'll tell you all the information you need to know. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and just stay tuned to when we're actually framing.